Welcome to Google Suite Sheets. Today's class will be hosted by Bren with the Plano Public Library. Before we begin, I need to let you know about some ground rules that we've set up for today's program. You will be muted during this class and have your video blocked. At the top of your screen, you can find an exit full screen option if you need to get to other things on your computer, including Google Sheets. You are welcome to ask questions during today's program. You should see an icon at the bottom of your screen that says Chat. Click on that to open the chat window. Chat is set to be seen by library staff only. Please note that any inappropriate comments will cause your immediate removal from this class. In regards to questions, we may answer you in the chat box. We might hold the question until a break or the end of the program, or we might go ahead and ask the question at the time if it is pressing. In the reminder email for this class, as well as in the chat, there is a link for the course handout with additional information. A recording of this class will also be sent out in a few days. If you'd like to watch today's class and then practice after getting the recording, that is an option. If you would like to follow along with your own Google account, you may, but please keep in mind that it will be difficult to give one-on-one assistance or troubleshoot during today's class. We will try to take it slow in case you are practicing along with the instructors. With that, let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, my name is Bren, and I'm a librarian with Plano Public Library. The goal for today's class is to learn how to create and edit spreadsheets using Google's free data documentation application, Google Sheets. Google Sheets is a web-based application for creating spreadsheets similar to Microsoft Excel. You can create and edit spreadsheets using your web browser or the mobile app, although today's class will only cover the web version. Common uses include designing lists, sorting data, and creating charts to view data. You must have a free Google account to utilize Sheets. You can either log into your account directly through Google Sheets or access Google Sheets through your Google Drive homepage. In addition to documents you create in Google Sheets, you can also edit and convert Excel documents and PDF files. We have several objectives for the class today. Learn how to create and import files in Google Sheets. We'll explore how to create spreadsheets from scratch by using templates and by importing existing files from programs like Microsoft Excel. Edit and format cells and other elements. We'll explore things like changing your font size and color, merging cells and changing alignment, adding borders and fill colors, and changing text wrapping and direction. Explore tips and tricks for working with files in Google Sheets. We'll explore how to copy, rename, and move files and restore deleted files. Print and download files. We'll explore how to print, download, and email completed files. Collaborate and share documents with other users. We'll explore how to add additional users to your document so that you can collaborate in real time or share comments with others. I'll be accessing everything that we need today from my Google account. Your documents will save automatically in the cloud while you are working, so you don't have to worry about hitting save. The documents that you create will be accessible from any device with internet access in the future. I will go ahead and share my Google Drive now in the screen. Okay, you should be able to see the browser with Google Sheets in it now. So before we get started, let's take a little moment to learn a little more about Google Sheets. What is it? Google Sheets is a web application for spreadsheet editing, similar to Microsoft Excel. You can create and edit spreadsheets in a web browser or mobile app. Today's class will focus on the features available in the web version of Google Sheets. You must have a free Google account to access and utilize Sheets. You can set up a Google account by either using an existing email account or by creating a free Gmail account associated with your Google membership. You can access Sheets directly through its homepage, which is sheets.google.com, or through your Google Drive, which is drive.google.com. Google Sheets can be used for a variety of work, job search, and personal tasks. Some common examples include budgets, to-do lists, schedules, and project trackers. We'll start by talking about creating and importing files. So you can create documents easily in Google Sheets by creating a blank document using a template from the template gallery, or uploading and converting an existing file. To create a blank document from the Google Sheets homepage, which is this screen right here, we can sign into Google Sheets, which I've already done. Click the tile for blank, and a blank document will open. And this is what it looks like. You can do a similar thing from the Google Drive homepage, which is this screen here. Sign into Google Drive, which we've already done. Click on the new icon in the left-hand corner. Choose Google Sheets and the arrow to it, and click on blank spreadsheet. And we have another blank one. We'll go ahead and close that tab there. You might also want to work from an existing template. Templates provide some basic formatting and structure that you can use to create your documents. Generally, you will replace placeholder text with your own information. Google offers templates for to-do list, financial plans, and personal and work projects. In addition to the template gallery, you may find templates online that you can upload into your own account. To create a document from a template in the Google Sheets homepage, click on the template gallery to expand it right here. Choose the appropriate category. We can choose from personal, work, project management, and education, and select the document that you'd like to create. So I will choose an annual budget. And so we now have access to the template for the annual budget tracker. It has many features that we will look at and some that we won't today. We're not really going to look at formulas and how you would use it for finances, but you can see some of the applications of Google Sheets here. You can also access the template gallery from Google Drive homepage. Click the new in the upper left-hand corner, choose Google Sheets, and choose from a template from the arrow. And once again, it brings us back here, and we can see all the documents that we might wish to create. If you have an existing file, like a Microsoft Excel document, you can also import and convert that file. Please be aware that converting a file may cause some loss to formatting or other changes. To convert a file from the Google Drive homepage, click on New in the upper left-hand corner, choose File Upload, and this will take us to our computer. If we had an Excel document, we could at this point select it and click Open, and then open it within Google Drive via Open With and then Google Sheets. With Excel documents, let me see if I have one within my Google Sheets here. Oh, that one is not letting me access it. Let's reopen that. Okay, we're back here. If you are within your Google Sheets, you can actually find the differences. So this little icon that has a plus in it, that is going to be a Google Sheets native file, versus the ones that have the X in it is an Excel document. So this is an Excel document I had previously uploaded. It looks pretty much like a Google Sheets document, but you can see here that it is in the Microsoft Excel format from this extension here. If we go back to the Google Sheets homepage, we can see that it's been opened recently. But yeah, so that's how you would tell the difference between an Excel document and a Google Sheets document. Are there any questions at this time about creating and importing files?
No questions at this time.
Excellent. Now we'll talk about accessing documents. You may wish to access documents that you've previously created or need to continue working on. You can do this from either your Google Drive homepage or your Google Sheets homepage. Within your Google Sheets homepage, we'll look at some of the different techniques you can use. You can organize your files. You can view them in grid view, which we currently have, or list view, which changes it to be a little bit less detailed in terms of appearance, but it also shows us things like who owns it, when it was last opened, and it's a little bit more condensed for ease of viewing. You can just click on this toggle here to switch between those views. Files can be sorted by name, the last modified date, the last modified by me date, and last opened by me date. So we can click on any item in this list to change how items are sorted. Lastly, files can be filtered to owned by anyone or limited to files owned by you or others using this dropdown here. Since pretty much everything in here is owned by me in this case, I believe that's not going to do much. To access the files, you simply choose the document you wish to open. We'll go ahead and open this annual budget template that we had used, and it brings it up to the screen. We can also click this to go back to the Sheets home. If you don't see the file you want to open, you can also search for it in the file picker. So if I want to access the document that had Excel in the title, I can type Excel here, and it opens the Excel task tracker within the results. You can also access your Google Sheets files from the Google Drive homepage. Once again, you can organize your files within list view or within grid view. Let's see here. The suggested documents will appear in the top menu, changing based on what's been most recently accessed and most frequently accessed. You can see here I have a bunch of Google Forms files from last week's Google Forms class. Documents that are starred can be viewed within the starred menu. I don't have any right now, so that's not showing anything. And once again, if you don't see the file you want to open, you can type the title or information from within the document in the search bar, and that should bring up everything that matches that description. Are there any questions about accessing your files?
None in the chat at this time.
Excellent. Like we mentioned at the beginning, if you have any questions at any time, feel free to type them in the chat, and staff will either answer them there or pass them along to me for demonstration as needed. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about navigation. We are going to go ahead and create a blank document here. So we have here an untitled blank spreadsheet. You see the active cell is outlined with a bold blue line. You can click any cell to change where you would like your content to appear. Begin typing to input content into a cell, such as hello world, and then click away or press enter when you are done. Typing into a cell that already has content will replace that content. So now it says goodbye world instead of hello world. To edit a cell's content, you can double click in the cell. You can also click in the formula bar at the top of the screen to additionally edit content. And you can see that the new typed text appears in the cell as well as within the formula bar. The top left corner of your screen includes options to rename your file, add it to starred documents, save it into a folder, and check your sync status. In the top left corner, click in the box that says Untitled Document to rename your document. We'll go ahead and call this Google Sheets Practice. Click the star icon to add the document to your starred documents. There it appeared, and we'll go ahead and star it. Why not? Click the folder icon to move the document into a folder. You can choose an existing folder. I only have a few here, or create a new one using this little icon at the bottom. Click on the page icon up here, like we saw before, to return to the Google Sheets homepage. Use the cloud icon right here to view the sync status of your document. If a check mark appears in the cloud, which it currently does, all changes have been saved. You can also see when the last edit was made in the toolbar menu. Right here, we see that the last edit was seconds ago. The menu toolbar shows various menus for working with your spreadsheet. To see the specific commands and options available, choose one of the categories. And of course, these categories look fairly familiar to those of us that have used Microsoft Word or Excel, or even just a Google browser. We have the file menu, which includes options like emailing and downloading your document, as well as page setup options. Edit includes common editing commands like copying, pasting, and undoing. View includes options related to how your document and screen appear while you work. Insert includes commands to insert new rows and columns and add components such as charts, images, and checkboxes into your spreadsheet. Format includes commands to adjust font appearance and other aspect of text alignment within selected cells. Data includes options for working with data, including sorting, filters, and data validation. Tools includes tools like spelling and grammar check that can be used while creating your document. So it looks like the extensions menu includes the previous categories for add-ons and macros. We're not going to really work with those today. Those are more of an advanced tool that some developers might use. And lastly, the help menu displays access to help to Google's help information. And lastly, the shortcuts toolbar here, clicking away from the menu toolbar. The shortcuts toolbar shows shortcut buttons for commonly used features in Google Sheets. You can use these buttons instead of navigating to the appropriate menu. You can hold your mouse over the toolbar options to see information on the function of each item. So if we hover here, for instance, we can see that this drop-down menu represents the zoom option. Are there any questions about navigating the Google Sheets platform?
We're good so far.
Excellent. Next, we'll talk about entering and formatting data. Like we said, to add content to your spreadsheet, simply click on any cell and start typing. Sheets will periodically save your work as you are editing. If you are using a template, typically instructions for use will let you know if there are any specifications you could follow. In the upper left-hand corner of the spreadsheet, we're going to go ahead and type list title in cell A1. To move out of the cell, press Enter or use the arrow keys on your keyboard to move up, down, and sideways. You can also type into the formula bar to add text. In the cell A2, I will type list subtitle and press Enter. To edit the contents of a cell, and before I move further, I'm going to delete the previous text. To edit the contents of a cell, you have a few options. Keep in mind that if you type directly into an already full cell, its contents will be replaced. Instead, use one of the following options. We will go ahead and double click on cell A1 and change the list title to Employees. Clicking into the formula bar, like we said, will also allow you to edit text. And we're going to go ahead and change the list subtitle to This is my list subtitle to demonstrate that technique. Once you have added some text, it's time to format your content. Text within cells, as well as the cells themselves, can be formatted quite a bit. To demonstrate how you might use that to your advantage, we will be creating a sample spreadsheet. You can create the file along with me if you'd like, or simply watch. First, know that you can use the new Themes tool to set the default font, sizes, and colors for your spreadsheet. Let me see if I can find this. Aha, so under the Format menu, we'll just click on Theme. And a list of themes menu appears. So we can choose a new theme for our spreadsheet by scrolling through the default options and selecting a font and color scheme. I like this teal color here, and these themes are applied to all sheets within your document. Right now it hasn't done a whole lot, but we can see that it did change the font slightly. We can demonstrate that by clicking another one and going back to it. We'll stick with this one because it has a pretty color scheme that I like. You can still change the font size and color of your text manually. Most of the options you need are in the shortcuts toolbar, but if not, they're in the Format tab of the menu toolbar. So we have chosen this theme, so I'm going to close this menu. And we'll go ahead and choose a new font for our spreadsheet's title. So that's going to be this drop down here. The default is Verdana, but we can change it to something fancy. So let's choose the Lobster font. And we'll go ahead and also increase the font size using this drop down here so that it's a little bit easier to see. We can bold or italicize our title depending on the font. Let's see if Lobster allows us, and it does. So we'll go ahead and bold the employee's font in Lobster font, the employee's title, that is. We can use the icons in the menu up here, or you can use keyboard shortcuts, which would be Control B and Control I for bold and italic respectively. Lastly, we're going to go ahead and change the color of our title by clicking the text color icon and choosing a new color. Colors associated with the theme are actually located at the top. So we can choose the lovely teal color that I liked, and it changes the font to that color. You can also alter the appearance of cells within your spreadsheet. To give ourselves more space to work with, we are going to create some additional content for our spreadsheet. So starting in cell A4, I'm going to go ahead and type in some headings, name, ID number, job, and salary. And I'm going to go ahead and replace the content for the list subtitle using copy paste to demonstrate that technique as well. So I've copied from my document here, and I'm going to go ahead and paste it here by double clicking again to select all the text, and pasting. And there we have our new subtitle. We can change the fill color of cells. We can select some cells. So we're going to go ahead and select, we'll go ahead and select some cells from the first column. So we'll go ahead and click, hold, and drag down. We go to this paint bucket icon and choose any color. Now we can choose a color from up top, but they're actually kind of dark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pick one. We'll go ahead and choose this brownish color here. And it's a little bit too dark, but we like the color. So we're going to go back to the paint bucket, and we can actually create a custom color by clicking the plus button. And now we can actually alter the color a little bit by moving this toggle around within the field and pick a lighter brown to use. And there we have it. Now it still matches our color scheme, but it's light enough to see the text on. Let's use the borders function to make the column headers more distinct. So we will go ahead and highlight all of the column headers, select the borders icon, and select either outer borders or all borders. And there's a lot of different options to choose from, including custom options. We're going to go ahead and use one of the defaults here. And we can see that it has put a border on all selected cells. We can merge the cells of our title row to make the title appear more central. Select all the cells above the headers. Click on the Merge Cells icon. This will turn all selected cells into a single cell without altering your rows and columns. The selected cells must be grouped into a single rectangle to do this. You can change the horizontal alignment for your cells, for your title cell to center so that it's not just sitting over here on the left side. For that, we'll go to the horizontal alignment option, select center, and it moves to the center. We're actually going to go ahead and expand this cell slightly to make it a little bit more visible, to also demonstrate vertical alignment. We come to the line between rows 1 and 2 within the sidebar, and you can see this, the cursor has become a double-sided arrow. Oop, that actually made a change I didn't want. Go ahead and hover for the double-sided arrow. We click and we drag until the cell is as wide or as tall as we'd like it, and release. Now we can demonstrate vertical alignment.
Hey, Bryn,
Yes.
we do have a question. Can you do a quick repeat of how you made the title header again? So I'm assuming showing how you merged them to make it
Sure.
into that header.
Yeah, so I'll go over the borders as well as the merged cell since I'm not 100% which one you mean, but we can definitely do both. So over here, let's say we have employees. For the merged cell, we can select cells within a rectangle. And we go to merge cells right here. And so that will create a merged cell for all of them. As for the headers themselves, we select the cells that we want to represent the header, and we can select borders. So we can either do all borders or outer borders to create this little bar of header options. Does that answer your question?
I believe so. I'll let you know if there's any future questions.
Okay, awesome. So to do vertical alignment, we've already expanded our cell a little bit. The vertical alignment option is right here next to horizontal alignment. And we can change it to be at the top of the cell, the bottom of the cell, which it already was, or the middle of the cell. And I like it in the middle of the cell. Within the subtitle cell, we're actually going to merge these cells to represent the description. So we go over here, we select all the cells that we want to represent the subtitle, and we merge them. And you can see that it now actually cuts off the text at the cell boundary. But what we want to do is we actually want to have the text wrap. So what we do for that is we go to our wrapping options, which is the text wrapping dropdown. We can see that right now it's set to overflow, which means it should be going outside of the cell. However, if we click wrap here, it will actually cause the text to go down onto a second line, still within the second row of the spreadsheet. And that will cause it to wrap there, which is great if you have a longer description that you need to display within a short amount of space. Lastly, the text direction option might be circumstantially useful, particularly if you're creating a large table with lots of numerical data. You can change the text of your cells to be angled or even completely vertical. You can't use this function to cause your text to run backwards or be upside down. I'll just show off a little bit of what that looks like. So here's the text rotation option. You can change it to be tilted up like this, or you can cause it to be vertical like this. And you can see that it's not particularly intuitive in many cases, but it could be fun if you're working with a particular kind of spreadsheet. All right, are there any other questions about entering and formatting cell content? I see in the chat that they're working on finding out if there's more clarification needed to be provided regarding the title headers.
No other questions at this time.
Okay, we'll keep going. If you have can clarify what needs to be addressed, that would be helpful so that we can actually address your question. Okay, we're going to go look at copy, cut, paste, and undo functions next. You're probably familiar with some of these from other documents, but hopefully this can show you how they might be useful here. So we're going to fill out our table a little bit here. We're going to fill in some names of our employees. So we have John Smith, Jane Doe, and George Washington. And I will go ahead and expand this column just a little bit so that our names are all within the column and don't overflow. So we're going to go ahead and type 12345 as John Smith's ID number. And we're going to type customer service as his job. So as it turns out, 12345 is not John Smith's ID number. It is going to be Jane Doe's instead. So we're going to use the cut function to move that without having to retype it. So we select the cell containing the number. We go to the edit menu and click on cut. And then we see that there's actually a serrated line there, a dotted line that is around the cell about the cell that we want to move. And then we click on the new cell and we can go to the edit menu and click paste. Some other cut and paste options. We do have a keyboard shortcut for cut and paste, which is going to be Control X, which you hold Control and press X. And then you click on, you type Control V to move it to a new cell. For copy.
Hey, Bryn.
Yes.
Can you please show how you expanded cell A again?
Sure. So to expand cell rows and columns, you hover on the boundary between them within the sidebar. You click and you hold and drag and then release, and it expands the cell. And we can click and hold and carry it back to reduce the size again.
Thank you.
Now for copying, let's say that Jane Doe has the job of customer service as well. We can use the copy function to move this data easily. Select copy from the editing menu after highlighting the cell, and then go back to the edit menu to click paste when you are in the destination cell. And there we have it. Customer service is now in both cells. You can also use keyboard shortcuts for this, which would be Control C for copy and Control V for paste. If you make a mistake when you're working in your spreadsheet, you can easily undo the last actions you took since opening the document with the undo function. You have the undo arrow right here, which is right at this left side of the shortcuts menu, or you can press Control Z, which is the keyboard shortcut. To redo actions, you can click the redo arrow or use Control plus Y. All right, are there any questions about copy, paste, or undo, redo?
No, it looks like you're good right now.
All right, excellent. Now we're going to move on to altering rows and columns. We've already talked a little bit about expanding and reducing their size, but we can actually add additional rows and columns into the middle of our spreadsheet. So rows and columns are added and deleted in the same fashion. You basically do the same thing for a row that you would do for a column. So we're going to practice adding a row between rows 6 and 7 here. So we select the row below where we want to insert the new row, and then right click and select insert one row above. And so now there's an empty cell above George Washington that wasn't there before. We can name this new employee John Adams. Now we're going to go ahead and delete George Washington, who no longer is an employee here. So we select the row by clicking on the 8. That selects the entire row. And then we right click on his name and go to where it says delete row. All content in this row will be deleted when you do this, so just be aware of that. And he's gone. We'll go ahead and add a column as well to demonstrate it. So we're going to add a column to the right of job with the same method and title it, we're going to go ahead and title it age. So we can go ahead and do that and title our new salary age, our new column age, and there we have it. But then we decide we don't want that column, so we can delete it easily too. Simply select D, column D from the spreadsheet, right click and click delete column. And now age is no longer in our spreadsheet. You can also insert rows and columns using the insert menu at the top of the screen, which is this one here. And you would simply go to rows and columns, and you can either insert columns for rows above or below and columns left and right. Hiding rows and columns is another way to change how your spreadsheet is viewed. This may be useful if you don't want to delete a row or column, but you don't want to see it either. So highlight the row or column you wish to hide. We'll go ahead and hide the ID number column, since that might be considered sensitive information. Right-click. The hide option should appear in the second block of options here. And click hide. And so that column is no longer visible. It masks it and its row or column number from the spreadsheet. So we see the name column is entitled A, and then it immediately jumps to C. So B is missing from that as well. And we can easily click on these arrows here to restore any hidden columns. In addition to these options, you can also alter your rows and columns more drastically by grouping them, freezing them, or protecting them. But these are more advanced options that we're not going to cover in this course, but they are available to you if you wish to use them. Are there any questions about altering rows or columns?
None at this time.
Excellent. Now we'll talk about adding and editing sheets. So one of the great benefits of working with spreadsheets is that you can add additional tabs of content and even link them together. We're going to look at adding, rearranging, and hiding sheets in this portion of the class. To add a new sheet to this workbook, click on the plus symbol in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. That's right here. It will be added to the immediate right of the sheet you are currently in. So you can see that we've clicked this and a new spreadsheet has appeared. We can easily navigate between them by clicking on the sheets themselves down here, the tabs. So we can return to our employees spreadsheet and go back to sheet 2, which is currently empty. The hamburger menu to the right of the plus sign displays all sheets within the workbook, even if there are too many to fit along the bottom of your window. So we can click this and we see a list that is just sheet 1 and sheet 2 at this time, but you can click on either of them to go to that sheet. Once you have created a new spreadsheet, you have several options to explore. Click on the arrow of the tab to view them. We could delete this sheet if we want to and all content in it. Duplicate will create a copy of this spreadsheet. You can click copy to send this particular spreadsheet from your sheet document to another workbook within your drive, or even a new spreadsheet altogether. You can rename the sheet to describe its contents if you'd like. You can change its color, which adds a color bar to the bottom of your tab. We'll go ahead and use a blue here, and you can see that appears right at the bottom of the screen. You can protect the sheet, which is not covered in this class, but that is available to you here. And you can hide a sheet which basically appears the same way. It's similar to the hiding rows and columns. It basically removes it from view, but you can easily recover it. So we click hide sheet. Sheet 2 is now not visible, but if you click on all sheets here, you can see that it is slightly grayed out and still appears there. Okay, and you can also click view comments if there were comments on this spreadsheet, but it is grayed out right now because there are no comments. You can also change the order of these sheets. You can use the menu to move right or left, the drop-down menu right here. So we can move this to the right, or if we don't like that appearance, you can simply drag it back without having to go into the menu at all. Are there any questions about adding and editing sheets?
We have one question that we're looking to get a little clarification on. It says, can you insert titles and headings on sheet 2? And I just wanted to see if that was a matter of copying headings from sheet 1 to sheet 2, or if that was changing the title of the tab itself so that you can title sheet 1 so something different.
I see. So the different sheets can be edited in the same way. So if we wanted to create a new title in sheet 2, you would treat it similarly to how we did in sheet 1. So we could merge these cells to create a title space. We'll call it title 2. And we can format it a little bit so that it stands out if we'd like. And then we can create our headings as we like. So list 1, list 2, just to give you a sense of what this might look like if you are working with data here. And now if you mean to title the sheet itself, we can go to this drop-down arrow on the tab to click rename. And then it selects the text within the tab so that we can type whatever we want. Or if we really want to do it without doing that, we can double click and it will allow us to edit the text that way. Does that answer your question?
We'll seek clarification. Yes,
Oh.
yes, it did. You did it. Yay.
Yay, awesome. All right. Now we're going to look at inserting items into cells. And this is near the end of our course. So we're just going to kind of do an overview of what kinds of things you can put in cells besides text. So we'll go ahead and actually continue using this spreadsheet here. So this is going to be from the insert menu. If you click on it, you can see that there's a lot of different options, including a few we've already talked about, such as rows, columns, and sheets. Beyond that, there's a few options that are a little bit more advanced. But in the middle here, we have a few that might be interesting to look at. So charts and pivot tables would be considered advanced, but we'll look at inserting images and drawings. So to insert an image in a cell, you just click this arrow here and click Insert Image in Cells or over cells if you don't want it to be tied to any specific cell, but we'll put it in the cell. It's going to bring up this menu here that gives you a lot of different options. You can upload an image from your computer. You can take a picture using a webcam, which prompts a dialog box that I'm going to ignore. You can use a URL that you have. If you have any photos in your account, you can pull from there using the Photos option or the Google Drive option, depending on where the photo is located, or you can search the web. We'll go ahead and search for cat and see what comes up. So we have cat images here. There's no particular advanced search option within this window, so it's just going to be some cat pictures. We'll click on this cat here, this first option, and click Insert. And it doesn't seem to have worked, unfortunately. Oh, there it goes. It just took a second there to load. Now we can resize this cell using techniques we previously talked about to make this kitty a little bit more visible. And so we can expand it to make it, it basically tries to match whichever is the smaller dimension. And so this has made it big enough to see. Inserting a drawing, which is next to image in this list, offers the ability to combine shapes, scribbles, and text into a single entity. You select Create Drawing from the Insert menu. At this point, you have a few options. You can use some shapes and drag them out here. You can add text if you'd like to. There's even an option to create a scribble, which if you click on the line menu here, scribble is at the bottom, and then you can draw whatever you want. And it creates that shape. If we click Save and Close, this masterpiece will appear in the spreadsheet and can be moved around as soon as it finishes saving. Which it is taking a good minute here. Okay, so it didn't really like what I did because I had to reset it in order to get it to not freeze. But let's see here what happens if we click edit. And there my full drawing appears. So maybe, I'm not sure why it's showing up oddly, but theoretically your full drawing should appear and you can double click on it to edit it further. Let's just try and delete this and see if that helps. Yeah, it seemed to help a little bit. So looking back on the insert menu, you can also insert functions, lists, and checkboxes. Functions, links, and checkboxes. So these are some in-depth options that you can work with depending on what you're trying to do. Functions, though, they are preset formulas that conduct mathematical, statistical, and logical operations. They're a little bit intimidating and they're a little bit more advanced than we're working with today. But depending on what you're trying to do, thoughtful use of them can make your life that much easier. So you simply hover over the function option in the menu, and you can explore some different features that are available to you based on what you're trying to do. So we have some date options here, some math options down here, and so on. Functions and formulas are fairly similar between Google Sheets and Microsoft Excel. So I recommend checking out our Microsoft Excel Formulas and Functions class to learn more about how to use them. Are there any questions about inserting items into cells?
We do have a request to show a drop-down menu. I'm not sure if that's outside of our scope for today.
That is a little bit more advanced. That is something we can try to do though. So let me go ahead and delete some of this stuff. Let's see here. Actually, I'm not seeing an easy way to do that, unfortunately. I would say if you want to learn how to do that, if you want to send us an email after the class, we'll try and work a little bit to figure out how we can make that happen for you. Okay? All right, we're going to briefly talk about working with data, just to show you how you can use the information within your spreadsheet to make it a little bit more useful to you and you can analyze it further. So we're going to create a filter tool. We're going to go back to sheet 1 here. So we have our existing table. So to create a filter, you highlight all cells within the spreadsheet that you wish to filter. Go to the data menu and select create a filter. This basically puts all those cells in this green box and gives us these little funnel options here. Those are the filters. So this has created a filter with the entirety of the information. This also allows us to sort the information as well as to remove empty cells, for instance. So if we click on the filter icon here, which is the funnel, we can filter by unselecting blanks. So if we select that or unselect that and click OK, it has actually hidden the cells that have nothing in those, and nothing in them. So we can also filter by color, conditioner, and values is what we used. We have unselected all the blanks. We can also sort data using the filter menu. So having selected the name filter here, we can sort alphabetically. So based on this, John Smith should move to the bottom of the list underneath John Adams as well as Jane Doe. And it has successfully done so. You'll notice that it also keeps each row's content together. So Jane Doe's ID number is still 12345. That moved up with her name. If you wish to remove a filter, simply return to the data menu and select remove filter. You can see all the cells have once again reappeared. Other options for working with data include data validation. Pivot tables and grouping, those are all available here. Once again, those are going to be a little bit more advanced. They're not really covered in this course, but you can ask any questions. Like with the drop-down menu that we talked about, those are all options that we can help you with using Book a Librarian or Ask a Librarian services, and we're happy to assist with if that's something you're interested in. Are there any questions about working with data?
There is a question about, can you sort by last name?
So that is going to depend on how you've entered data into your spreadsheet. In this case, you cannot do that at this time, simply because the names are entered together. If you had created a spreadsheet that looks like this, first name and last name, and then entered Jane Doe and so on and so forth, at that point you could sort by last name. There are some formulas you can use to cause your spreadsheet to basically take information from an existing cell and put it in two separate cells. But that is a very advanced formula technique that I'm not entirely sure how to do without a little bit more research first. So that's beyond the scope of this class. Any other questions?
We're good at this time.
Okay. So lastly, we'll talk a little bit about collaboration using Google Sheets. One of the great benefits of it is that you can collaborate and share your work with others in real time easily. Using cloud-based document storage, Google Sheets files show real-time changes made by others with whom you have shared permissions. You can share your sheet directly with another user, or you can provide others with a link that will allow them to view or edit. To share, click the Share button in the upper right-hand corner. This opens a menu where you can type existing contacts or email addresses and then add them to the box. Or if you'd like, you can actually change link sharing permissions to anyone with a link and then copy this link to share with others. As you share your document, be mindful that anyone with editing permission can change anything they like within your document. Only share editing permissions with those you trust. As you work on a document with a friend or coworker, you can make comments in individual cells to offer your thoughts and offer critique as needed. So to add a comment to a cell, click on the cell you'd like to comment. You can do this a few different ways. You can, for some reason, half the time when I click on things, the cell content disappears, and I don't like that. You can right-click on a cell and select comment from this list. So we can here add a comment. So for instance, ID number has changed, and click comment. We can also access the comment menu from the insert menu, where we go down to comment at the bottom and click to open the dialog box. Or there is a keyboard shortcut that we can use to do this as well, which is going to be Control, Alt. You hold those two buttons and then click on M. And once again, we have the comment box. And we can type our comment there and post comment. Each spreadsheet tab at the bottom of the screen will indicate how many comments have been made within it, using a number to the left of the screen. So we can actually see here that sheet 1, which is where we're currently working, has 2 comments in cells B5 and B6. Replying to comments is simple as well. Once you have selected a cell that contains a comment, so we'll click on this cell here, navigate to the sidebar and type your reply, or if it brings up a dialog box like this, you can just type here. To open the sidebar, you have to go to at the bottom where it says all comments. And here we have the list of all comments across, in this case, all sheets, all comments in all sheets. And you can filter that just a little bit if you'd like. Are there any questions about collaboration using Google Sheets?
None at this time.
Awesome. We're about to wrap up. So if you have any final questions, please go ahead and type them in the chat. This does conclude the class on Google Sheets. Before we go, we'd like to share a couple more library resources for you. I'm going to go ahead and bring us back to our PowerPoint here. If you have a short question you'd like library staff to answer, or if there's something that was a little bit more complicated than we were able to assist with in this class, you can ask it online anytime using our Ask a Librarian service. A librarian will usually respond within 48 hours with the information, or if you want more one-on-one help, such as something that needed to be covered in a longer session, you can book a librarian appointment, which is also now in the chat. These are tailored to your specific needs and are compatible with your schedule. Our blog, Plano Library Learns, includes book lists, program recordings, and other useful information. You can explore more business and career resources and technology tools from the associated tabs. You can also view past programs on our YouTube channel, including the previously aired Google Drive, Docs, and Forms courses. And of course, we do have Google Slides coming up next week on Wednesday at 1, which you can register with as well. And you will receive a recording from today's class in a few days, and you can access our course handouts via the Google Drive at any time. Are there any final questions before we wrap up?
None at this time.
Excellent. Please take a moment to complete the survey, which should pop up when you exit. We highly value your feedback. And thanks again for joining us. Bye, everyone.